Hi, welcome back to the Self-Love series with Dr. Hawks. I wanted to discuss today a little bit about some of those behavioral conditionings. So, when oftentimes it is built into us to be a certain way, right? And if we take a closer look at our personality, how we identify with ourselves, how other people perceive our behaviors, our reactions, right? You'll often find that people will say, oh, that's just how they are. So if, for example, someone is incredibly guarded with their heart and that's just how they are, and they don't easily give love, they don't easily receive love. Or if someone is a very nervous person and they don't like to try new things, or let's say someone is extremely sexually promiscuous, or someone is very creative and a go-getter, and somebody that um, is an extrovert, right? Or an introvert. So I want you to take a look at some of those things that you personally identify as part of you, how you are, right? And I want you to actually use those personal identification factors as a way for you to help you unlock some of the emotional damages over the years, as well as some of the energetic imbalances. So we all have energy centers in our body, and there's seven main energy centers. They're known as chakras. There's a lot more than that, but there's seven main ones that people will talk about typically. And when we look at some of those protective mechanisms that we've developed over the years, it often goes hand in hand with whether or not we actually have a wide spinning, open energy center in particular areas, or if maybe there's blockages or imbalances in those energy centers. So, when you look a little bit more at self love, you have to actually take a look at your energy centers. Because if you are someone that, let's say, feels like you always had to protect yourself and you never really felt safe or secure, that's step one. That's very first. So in psychology, they talk about how if you don't have your basic needs met, you can't reach a higher level of attunement, right? So if you don't have a place to live, who the heck's worried about, having cable? You're not worried about those extra necessities because your basic needs aren't met. And so we go back to that animalistic aspect of survival of the fittest and making sure that first and foremost, we are safe, we are protected, we are secure. And so when you look at some of those things for yourselves, you may not even realize that your root chakra, which is based on your groundedness in the here and now, in the 3D plane on this earth, do you feel safe? Do you feel secure and grounded? Well, if you had something happen to you in your life that was a detriment to your safety and security, were you able to process that, release it, and feel safe again at another time? Or did you actually start to wall off and block off some of that energy center? Is your root chakra actually open, spinning widely, and able to present a sense of safety and security on this earth? Or have you closed that off a little bit and you don't quite ever feel enough? You don't quite ever feel like you have enough? You don't feel like you have a good sense of safety for where you live or what you have in your life. A lot of times, people that don't feel a sense of groundedness, safety, and security, they may be really materialistic, right? Because they always have to have something to make them feel like they're getting what they need. So, for example, a lot of people that have not healed that root chakra will often seek relationships with people that have security, stability in a financial aspect. And while there's nothing wrong with taking care of your business and being a hustler and making sure that you've got, enough to provide for yourself and others, when we seek that in someone else, it can actually show us where our imbalances are in our body. So you have to actually look at, what do I look for? Not only in what I do, but what do I look for in other people? So if you were someone that, never really felt like you had enough, and you always felt like, maybe you have been homeless several times in your life, or maybe there were times where you had to live in a homeless shelter, you had to live in your car, you had to live with this family member or that family member at certain times in your life because you really didn't have that stability, safety, and security. Well, that can be damaging to that root chakra. That can be an aspect where you then don't feel safe and grounded in the here and now situation. Hopefully, you're no longer in that situation. You've been able to rise out of that situation and redevelop a sense of safety and security. But oftentimes when this happens to us in a time frame when we didn't have the ability to take care of ourselves, like especially during childhood, it can swing one way or the other, right? Many different manifestations of it, of course, but it typically will go one way or the other, where you open up your root chakra really widely and it's actually in an excess, or you close down your root chakra and it is blocked off, or it's, a sense of never quite feeling safe. Are you actually going to even let anybody else in at that point, or do you constantly just feel like you have to stand your ground and take care of yourself? So I want you to look at some of those behaviors and how that actually correlates to initially the coping mechanisms and the protective behaviors that we've set up over time, as well as how that correlates to our energy centers in our body and what we can do to heal ourselves now moving forward. So let's say you did have to, live with someone when you were younger. You and your mom went and lived with your grandma, or you and your dad lived in your car for 6 months while you guys got back on your feet, or something like that. Well, if I take that and moving forward, if I look at that from a sense of, well, I had better make sure that there is someone in my life that can provide that stability for me. Is that the best thing to do? Or should you look at the aspect of, how can I make sure that I can provide that stability, safety, and security for myself? And a lot of times that's what people will do. They'll be like, I never want to be in that situation again. But if that also turns into, you go so full hardcore on your own stability that you become greedy and you can't share with anyone because it's all about your safety and your protection, and this is what I need to make sure I'm safe. But then you stockpile, whatever it be, goods, money, random household items. You see this a lot with people that are hoarders because they think they're going to need it someday. And they want to make sure they're never without the things that they need. So if we don't feel that sense of safety and security and groundedness in our own lives, then that can actually not only have imbalances in our chakras, but that will affect the way that we present ourselves to the world. So obviously there's so much more involved with the different energy centers, but that's just one example. When we move on up in that, so once we do feel safe and secure and grounded, then we can actually move up to balance the next level, right? So once you have a house to live in, well, then next you also want to make sure you have food on the table, and you can pay your electric bill and things like that. So once meeting basic needs, you go up from there. And if we finally do have that set for ourselves where we've met those basic needs, then we're going to go up from there. The next level up is your sacral chakra, and it's all about confidence. And it's also all about being a healthy sexual being and understanding that it is okay to be healthy sexual being. I am confident, right? I can present myself in a healthy way sexually. So if someone doesn't feel safe and doesn't feel confident because let's say they were raped. So if you were raped, that affects your energy centers greatly. And so you not only are not going to feel safe at that time, hopefully with good self work and with good support from other people, you can feel safe again. And that it can happen, but it does take time. But what's more important with that is that next level up, that sacral chakra. Well, if you were sexually abused or assaulted or raped in general or treated lesser than when it comes to a sexual standpoint, then you can either become overly sexual or hyposexual, low sex drive, right? Well, maybe all of a sudden, as soon as you realize that people have seen you as a sex object and that's what you think caused you to be hurt, to be sexually assaulted, you may close that part off of you and not be willing to open up in a healthy sexual way moving forward. You may actually choose abstinence after that. You may actually be someone that, after something like that happens to you, happens in your life in general, you may shy away from any sexual behaviors because that's how you feel like you're going to stay safe. Well, that's not a healthy standpoint to be in either. It's important for us to feel balanced and know that it's okay to have a healthy sex life as long as everyone's being respected and taken care of, and everyone's on the same page there, right? Or, on the other side of things, if you have had something like that happen to you, maybe you'll go the other way and become very hedonistic. Maybe you become all about sex after that. And it's just like, oh, well, I am now going to turn that instance into a way for me to gain power over other people because I know that if I am hypersexual and very sexual, that gives me power over other people. That allows me to feel safe and secure, right? So by trying to fix that basic root chakra level of safety, security, and groundedness, you decided to excessively express the sacral chakra, which is about that confidence and that healthy sexual being. So if you overexpress that, then to feel safe, to feel a sense of power, to feel a sense of confidence, well, that's not necessarily where we want to be either, right? Because is that truly respecting your body, yourself, truly loving yourself to give away your sexual identity, to give that away to somebody else? Because that's a beautiful thing to give away, for one. And it's okay if that's if that's the place that you're at right then. I'm not shaming anybody. If you are in a state of hedonistic behavior, in a state of hypersexual behavior, that's okay. I just want you to take a look at who you are and how you're presenting yourself to the world and how it can actually tell us more about the protective behaviors that we've developed over time in order to feel balanced. So it may not be a state of balance, but you feel perfectly fine, right? You feel confident and sexy. And you should feel confident and sexy. But an overexpression of that is just as damaging as an underexpression of that. It's about loving yourself, respecting yourself, and knowing that you're working on balancing those different aspects of yourself and healing those wounds. And I often will work with people on chakra balancing. And I am not going to get into that completely in this series, but I want you to take a look at your personal identity aspects. How do people see you, in the sense that how do you present yourself to the world can actually show you what things that we still need to work on. So, for example, moving on up the line here in energy centers, if I'm someone that's incredibly shy, and right, if I'm someone that's incredibly shy, because y'all know I'm not. But if I were someone that was incredibly shy and I wasn't truly expressing myself, and I often would not want to share my gifts with the world, right? I wouldn't want to have that conversation. I wouldn't want to go play on a team. I wouldn't want to, um, create things. I wouldn't want to share my artwork or my song or dance or what have you. A lot of that is that solar plexus, that yellow solar plexus aspect right around the umbilicus and right above that. And you will hear a lot of people talk about the solar plexus and the solar chakra because it's so important in how we actually interact with other people, as well as letting our light shine. So when you truly do love and respect yourself, you're able to let your light shine. Well, if you're someone that, due to any level of conditioning and setting yourself up with these protective behaviors, you may dim that light. You may actually start to close off that solar plexus because sharing your creativity with the world was something that was used against you in the past. Or maybe you overshare your creativity with the world as a way of proving yourself. It all goes back to being able to feel secure and safe in our own right. And all along our energy centers, we may actually develop behaviors that stem from trying to keep our root chakra balanced, that stem from feeling safe, secure, and grounded. And we can throw off other energy centers. Where this really plays a role in this series is just identifying how you see yourself and how you present yourself to the world, and allowing that to help you understand where there may still be imbalances, where there may still be things that you need to heal. Energy centers change all the time. You're not going to find one single person that always at all times is completely balanced in every energy center. It just doesn't happen that way. Even people that are amazing energy gurus, they have had times of imbalance. It doesn't mean that they're always imbalanced. It doesn't mean that every area is imbalanced. It just means everyone has these ups and downs. Everyone has moments where their energy is affected. So it's a level of understanding yourself and loving yourself and giving yourself that compassion to know that, yeah, if I'm imbalanced, I just need to actually take a step back to look at that, to process that, to heal from that, and to rebalance. So moving on up from the solar plexus, you have the heart chakra. And that's what this whole series is mainly working on, is the heart chakra, because that is our center, right? That's the fourth chakra. So the fourth chakra is right in the middle of our 7 main chakras. So it can make a huge difference in the balance of our other areas. If you look at that heart chakra, and I know I've mentioned some of the mantras in earlier videos, but if you look at that heart chakra from an aspect of, am I able to give love? Am I able to receive love? Am I able to feel joy? And those are the big 3 with the heart chakra. Well, let's say you're someone that has closed down that solar plexus and you're very timid and you don't like to share your gifts with the world. You're someone that may be a beautiful artist but never puts your work out there or doubts your work, right? Some of the most amazing, talented artists that I have met in my life, when I first met them, they barely showed their work to anybody because they weren't confident enough about it yet. They didn't feel safe and secure in their own right to be able to share that part of themselves with the world. And that can bleed into closing down that heart chakra a little bit, not being able to receive love. And you'll see this a lot with those people that are timid. Maybe they haven't blocked off their heart chakra completely and they're able to give a lot of love, but maybe they're not willing to accept it from others. So moving on up, that can then affect the throat chakra, right? The throat chakra is about speaking your truth from a place of kindness and compassion and feeling heard. Not only is it important for you to truly listen to what other people are saying, but also for you to feel heard from other people and to know that if it is important for you to say something, then you should say it from a place of kindness and compassion instead of walling off that throat chakra and never speaking up, never speaking your truth. Or maybe you're someone that goes the opposite way and you're the first person to tell anybody off. That is actually also imbalance. That's an overexpression of the throat chakra. So when we look at the aspect of why we have developed these behaviors and how it's actually affected us on an energetic level. So, if you were someone that felt like your voice was not valued throughout your life at any time, maybe you worked for someone that never wanted you to express your opinion, or everyone that said something to this boss got fired, or maybe you came from a very militaristic style household to where you're only spoken when spoken to, or you only speak when spoken to, or maybe you came from a household where it was always encouraged for you to speak your truth, but then it kind of went a little bit off the deep end on the other end to where you end up being somebody that says very hurtful things to people. And it's just, I'm doing this person a favor to tell them how it is. Well, you can speak your truth from a place of kindness and compassion without overexpressing that throat chakra, because someone else has to feel heard in what they're saying as well. And it's very important to listen to what other people are saying, especially if it's someone you care about, or if it's someone that it's important for you guys to work together and collaborate on something. If we're just running our mouth and talking over people and things like that, well, that person doesn't feel heard, for one. They can't get a word in otherwise. So then, in order to balance that situation, if you're overexpressing, they have to underexpress. Because if two people are overexpressing, then it just ends up no one understands anything the other person is even saying at that point, because it's just rah back and forth. So when we look at the behaviors that we've developed and we look at why we've developed these behaviors, the next step of that self-love is actually looking at healing, removing blockages, and balancing those energy centers in your body so you can be high vibing. Moving on up from the throat, we have the third eye. Do I see clearly? Do I trust what I see and what I know to be true? Do I trust my intuition? If you are someone that has always been encouraged to trust your intuition, that's great. But if it goes into it in excess, it can start being where you actually get headaches from that, from trying to see too much. trying to control things. And if it's too little, then you're going to feel confused and you're not going to feel safe because you don't trust in the here and now. You don't trust yourself. Taking that one step higher to the crown chakra, this is our connection with our higher self and the universe. Well, those connect, they all connect, but the one that's closest, the chakra that's closest to the others, really play into each other. And so if I don't trust my intuition, I'm probably not going to trust my higher self. I'm probably not going to trust my connection with the universe. I'm probably going to feel very anxious because I'm trying to control several things that I just don't understand. Go back to the grounding, go back to the root. Feel safe and secure and grounded in the here and now. Feel confident, feel creative, feel loved, feel joy. Speak your truth. See clearly, feel connected. There's many different ways that the chakras can be imbalanced. I hope that you were able to take something from this video today. I know it seemed a little scattered. There's a lot of material that I could go over, and there's a lot in depth that I could go into. I'm trying to keep it on a very light blanketed aspect right now, because if you want to go deeper, we can go deeper, and please reach out personally for that. But if we just take the time to look at not only how we see ourselves, how we know that we present ourselves to the world, how other people have mentioned that we present ourselves to the world. And sometimes when people mention things to you about how you present yourself to the world, you don't have to necessarily get combative about that. It could actually be exactly what you needed to hear to help you start to process some of those previous wounds that caused you to develop these protective behaviors. So when you're looking at your protective behaviors as they present themselves as just part of your identity and part of who you are, look at where you can heal. Look at what might be imbalanced that's actually causing you to react instead of allowing you to feel healed, grounded, secure, and respond appropriately. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If this is in any way a series or a video that you think would help somebody else, please do me a huge favor. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. You can subscribe to the Doc Hawk's YouTube channel. But if you think that this series is going to be beneficial for anybody, liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting will actually help this video reach more people. So thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to listen. I wish you the best, and do something today that brings joy to your life. Take care.